Florida has long been a battleground in U.S. presidential elections. While some may have thought its status as a swing state was fading, recent events suggest otherwise. Join us as we uncover these developments and examine the possibility of Florida flipping once again in 2024. Stay tuned. Florida, the third most populous state in the United States, holds 30 votes in the Electoral College, making it a pivotal player in presidential elections. Given its history of flipping between parties in past elections, Florida's significance is amplified. Over the last 2 decades, Florida's elections have consistently been tightly contested. Except for the 2004 election, where the margin between George W. Bush and John Kerry barely exceeded 5%, the difference between candidates has never surpassed 3.5%. Notably, in the 2000 election, Florida single-handedly determined the victor by a margin of about 500 votes, following a series of recounts halted by the U.S. Supreme Court. Given this context, Florida has traditionally been viewed as a battleground state, with campaign efforts from both parties exceeding those in any other state. However, there is a prevailing notion that Florida's status has shifted. Since 1998, Republicans have consistently won gubernatorial elections, and since 2018, both Senate seats from Florida have been held by the GOP. Consequently, many predictions for the 2024 election no longer categorize Florida as a swing state or battleground, but rather a likely or leaning Republican state. Yet recent developments may disrupt this narrative. In June 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in which the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States generally protected a right to have an abortion. By overruling it, the Supreme Court paved the way for legislative bodies to pass bills and restrict abortion rights. In spring 2022, just months before the U.S. Supreme Court decision, Republicans in Florida passed a law banning abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy, down from the previous legal threshold of 24 weeks. It took effect that summer, but advocates for reproductive rights challenged it in a state court as unconstitutional. A year later, Florida Republicans escalated their efforts to curtail reproductive freedom. Governor Ron DeSantis signed a new bill restricting abortion access to 6 weeks of pregnancy. But the fate of that law rested on what the court would decide about the 15-week ban. If it decided that ban was legal, the 6 weeks ban would be too. In practical terms, 6 weeks is a total ban. By that time, many people aren't even aware they're pregnant. Moreover, Florida mandates that patients seeking abortions undergo 2 in-person doctor visits, with a 24-hour waiting period in between, a logistical challenge to meet before 15 weeks and nearly impossible before 6. Not only will the 6-week ban decimate abortion access for Florida residents, but it will also significantly curtail care for people across the South who have been traveling to Florida from more restrictive states like Alabama and Georgia since Roe was overturned. On April 1st, nearly 2 years after challengers first filed their lawsuit, the Florida Supreme Court finally issued its ruling. The 15-week ban is constitutional under state law, clearing the way for the 6-week ban to take effect in 30 days, on May 1st. However, the Florida Supreme Court's decisions didn't end there. In a separate ruling, the court allowed a ballot measure to proceed to voters aiming to enshrine abortion rights in the state's constitution. The proposed amendment states, "No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider." It includes one exception already present in the state constitution: parental notification before minor children can obtain an abortion. Scheduled for the same ballot as the U.S. presidential election on November 5th, the measure faces a significant hurdle under Florida law. It must garner the support of 60% of voters, not just a simple majority, to pass. This high threshold poses a challenge for proponents of abortion rights. Previous ballot measures aimed at protecting abortion rights have succeeded since the fall of Roe v. Wade, but they didn't require 60% support, particularly in red and purple states. Despite the formidable task, polls conducted in recent years indicate that more than 60% of Floridians believe abortion should be legal in all or most cases. Therefore, the 2024 election in Florida, beyond the presidential race, holds significant importance and costly campaigns are anticipated. But how might it impact the presidential election? Abortion has always been a significant issue in elections, but since the Supreme Court decided to overturn Roe v. Wade in June 2022, it has gained even more prominence. Candidates' policies on abortion now play a crucial role in voters' decision-making. In the 2022 midterm election, Democrats emphasized abortion rights, which helped pro-choice candidates win in many competitive races. Democrats will probably prioritize abortion rights in Florida during the 2024 election, hoping to sway pro-choice voters to support Biden in the presidential election. Given current polls showing Trump with a lead of about 6 to 7% in Florida, flipping the state for Democrats is a hard task. Florida holds significant importance for Trump. Being considered his home state and offering 30 electoral votes, the third most in the country, making it a must-win state for him. Losing Florida would put Trump in a challenging position, as Biden would need only 14 more electoral votes to secure his re-election bid, based on current polling data. This would require Trump to win almost all other swing states to regain the presidency. Even if Trump manages to secure Florida, the situation may not be favorable for him. Biden has significantly raised more funds than Trump, giving him an advantage in campaign spending. Trump's campaign may have initially been confident about Florida and planned to spend less there, saving more for other battleground states. However, the current circumstances compel them to allocate more funds to Florida, potentially leaving them with fewer resources for crucial states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. In summary, while it's premature to make definitive statements, it's plausible that the GOP's stance on abortion law in Florida could potentially backfire and boost the Democrats' prospects in the presidential election, as well as in efforts to enshrine abortion rights in state constitutions. Additionally, given the close Senate race in Florida, Democrats may have a chance to flip the seat in their favor. Only time will tell. In this video, we discussed the possibility of flipping Florida in the 2024 election. If you found this content informative, please like it and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to share your thoughts, comments, and ideas for future topics in the comment section. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.